So, hi lovelies. So my goal is to put out at least 2 videos a week and to sort of just get back into the zone. It's just been so hard with having no laptop. I didn't explain that in the last video because I just wanted to just like talk, but I am trying to put out at least, one super hyper content video and one kind of like mellow talking to the people video, and my max is trying to do at least 3 a week, but I'm going to stick with at least 2 because I know that I have 2 days off in the week that I can do this. So I want to do at least 2 a week because, yeah, and I want one that I can put real effort into and like put clips in it and all kinds of like decorative stuff. And I have a new laptop whose name is Nyx. So I'm trying to, get my lighting okay so that I don't look like a glob of shadow. But question that I often get on my Tumblr is what is advice for people going to college and going to grad school and all kind of things, because as a lot of people know from the internet, I am a grad student. Well, I have graduated. I have my master's in English, and that means nothing. And so I wanted to take a moment to be just very candid and very blunt about higher education and my experience, because I find that I was just talking to one of my coworkers at my job about her daughter is a sophomore getting ready to go to college, and I was like, you have to go where the money is. And I know that when I was younger I had all these ideas and dreams about college. You see me go through college and grad school via YouTube, which is very strange to say out loud, but it's true. If you've been watching me from the beginning, which I know some of you have, you guys have seen me from 16 to 23. I think I've gotten better with age. Okay. I definitely enjoyed going to college. I loved what I was being taught. I loved meeting people that I love to this day, even if the things didn't go completely right. I really learned to become who I am and have an idea of what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be as a person while I was in college. And that experience I would never ever want to get rid of, and I loved it. And even in grad school, I went to Brooklyn College. I enjoyed it. I loved being there. I loved learning these things. I think I became a better reader, a better thinker because I went to grad school, and I think that me doing that has made me a better YouTuber in a lot of ways, even though not content wise but like thought wise. It's made me a better writer, a better person, all those things. I think that education in terms of just knowing more and learning more is always important. However, that being said, I resent a lot of the time I spent just focusing on school. Not in terms of like, I didn't get to go out and have fun. It's about jobs. Because I graduated out of a liberal arts 4-year college, accredited, top of my class. I graduated magna cum laude. I had a like 3.8 something GPA, 3.79, 3.8, around that number. Graduated with full academic honors. I was in Sigma, Chi Delta, Alpha Lambda Delta. I was in the judicial board. I was a member of SGA when they were trying to get accredited to get trustees to come to school. I was one of the people who did stuff. I basically was doing it all. I was doing stuff, and I worked. I babysat. I worked in work study, all that stuff throughout school. I was an exemplary student. That's why I didn't do a lot of YouTube videos. But I was on top of my shit, and I graduated at top of my class. I got the award in my field for the best graduate of that field. Mind you, there was like a very steep competition, but I also kicked ass in English, so I got that. And despite that, I could not get a job when I got out of college. I want to work in publishing. I want to work in writing, and I had no experience with working in a publication company. And despite having done all this stuff related to English, doing all this stuff related to, planning, organizing, all that kind of stuff, didn't matter. I didn't have the experience to do that. But that's at the top tier level. You can understand that, that I could at least get to. Retail jobs, couldn't get that either. because I had no retail experience. Even though I babysat and I, did work study, I worked in the library, that didn't count. I could not get a job. Graduated top of my class. I was going to grad school. I was getting ready to start. I went straight from one to the other. All this great stuff that tells me like, oh, I'm a smart, educated person. I am capable of doing lots of things. Nope. Didn't matter. My resume did not show the things that they wanted to see, and therefore it didn't matter. And this was probably the thing that made me most irritated, because when I went to school, I couldn't do internships because where I went to school was in Casanova, and it was a village, and I didn't have a car because I'm from New York City and I live in Brooklyn, and I don't need to know how to drive or do any of those things, so I didn't need to do that. And so I didn't have any internships, and if I had, I'd have to pay extra money to get a van to drive me to and from my internship. And from what I heard from another person, the person who did it, it was like about like $100 or $200 a month to get them to drive them to and from, because it meant having to get a van, get all the stuff, have them wait for you, drive them back. And I could not afford that. I could not afford to have someone drive me buses back and forth. And then summer internships was just a hassle to try to get into. They're so competitive, like, if I didn't have something that showed that I'd been published already through something or like that, how to get an internship at HarperCollins, it didn't happen. And so I found myself out of college, a success college story in the way that I did really well in school and really flourished there and made a lot of connections, but I had nothing to really make me marketable to anyone except education. And then I went to Brooklyn College and I did more school, and I was really, really good at that. And I had, my retail jobs. I work in retail right now. And while I am, doing a kick-ass job there because it's retail, but not that retail isn't easy, because trust me, working with customers who are very picky about their drinks and what they want and how they want it, and will yell at you and look at you like you're the crazy one when they don't know what a quiche and a pretzel are, and confuse the two even though the signs tell you what they are. And I went through that when I was in school. I got an internship with Bust Magazine, and it was a 3-month internship, unpaid. I had a good experience there, but it was unpaid, and I'm 23, and I have bills to pay and loans to pay off, and wanting to get my own place and not want to live under my parents' thumb, because as much as I love my parents, I live in a West Indian house. You can't be there long. You're gonna just drag down. And so here I am now, 23. I still can't get a job in the fields that I want to work in. And I work 5 days a week at the job that I do work at, and sometimes I get to write sometimes when I get at home, but I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from working all fucking day. I'm exhausted from having to deal with people all day, being on my feet all day, working back and forth all day. And even though I know that that's an excuse in a lot of ways, and for a lot of people say like, if you're a writer, you're supposed to write every day. It's hard to write every day for me, because I am like working so much and so tired. Like I remember when I was in school, like I was working internship and school at the same time. I had no time to breathe, let alone work on my own stuff. I was writing for Bust, writing for school, worrying about other stuff, trying to be in the top of my class so that when I left, I could be like, yes, I don't have 1 to 2 years of publishing experience, but I have my master's degree, and you don't even require that for this position, but I have my master's in English, which means I have a grasp of English. I know what you need from that regard, but it, in a lot of ways, doesn't matter. And then the cover letter is a whole other shit. Oh my god, that is something that has always eluded me. So I would always say to anyone, if you want to find a job, you master the cover letter, because that's something I haven't mastered yet. I suck at them, and I think that's probably my biggest hurdle in finding a job right now, is that I don't know how to write a cover letter. And that's also hard, because that's how you get in the door. And it's like, for me, as much as I loved working at Bust, and I'm glad, because I have like 2 magazine headlines, under my name, under my belt. I have like book reviews through them and stuff that I have online through them. it's also hard because, one, you know, a lot of it was like, not, I was forced to write it because I wasn't, but like, you know, we were assigned stories to write, so it wasn't always my original thoughts. So that was something that's disappointing. But also, I wanted to stay longer. I wanted to be there for a longer time so that I could get a, you know, another job later on. But I can't afford it. I can't afford to be an unpaid intern. You know, that's for students, and I'm not a student anymore. And now a lot of internships that are paid only want students, and I'm not a student anymore, so I can't apply for them, and it's just frustrating. And so what I tell people is that, like, education is important, yes, and I would not tell anyone not to go to college, but it's so much more important to know how to get jobs, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to pay back your education. I have student loans to pay off, not a whole lot, thankfully, because I had scholarships, but it's a lot of fucking shit to do, and it's hard, and you feel like a failure when you can't do it. It's very hard for me to, like, you know, that's why people talk about academics living in the ivory tower. Like, I don't want to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher, but it's, and I'm not even certified to be a teacher because I didn't take education. I did English. But at the same time, it's getting to the point where what I'm qualified to do is work in academic arenas, and that's never what I wanted to do, ever. I taught classes before when I was in school. I know how to do it, and I know it can be rewarding, but I never wanted to be a teacher. But it seems like that's what I'm being pushed into doing as an English major, and I resent that a lot, because I know I can do different things, but I'm getting pushed into that area. But I also recognize that, like, if that's what I have to do, I have to do. A lot of times when you get out of school, you get into jobs that maybe you don't love and you don't want to do, but you have to. And it's who you know. A lot of people I know who are happy with their jobs after school, got out through a person or knew somebody, and it's like, I don't want to, like my mother was telling me, well, you're on YouTube, why don't you do it? I don't want to be YouTube famous. I mean, I do. Who doesn't want to be YouTube famous? I would love to be, like, friends with Chescalay and Kid Fury and all those people. Like, that would be great, because that would just make my life a lot more interesting. But, like, this is something I do for, like, cathartic reasons, and because I feel like, well, if you guys relate to something I say and we talk about it, like, it's creating dialogue. That's what's important to me about being on YouTube, and has been for a long time, because when I started doing this, it wasn't like you could be YouTube famous. It wasn't a thing then. And then when it was, I just didn't have the time to, like, do that kind of stuff. I still don't even understand how to monetize my account. Like, it's too many steps. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't need that. I'm just like, whatever. So I guess you're ready for the advice part of this. Internships. It's important for whatever field you want to get into, especially writing and publishing. Make those connections, meet people, learn about your craft, but don't be obnoxious, because there are a lot of people who are in that industry who are, like, trying to get into it, who are so obnoxious. Like, certain bloggers who just, like, pimp themselves into authors, and it's very weird. And I'm friends with some authors, and it's like, they talk about, like, yeah, they give me their cards. Like, they don't want your cards. They don't, like, it's just stop. And I think it's so important to have a skill that you're good at, and to work on that skill. And also cover letters. Like, cover letters, learn how to write your cover letters, learn how to make your resume as perfect as possible, know how to use the right verbs. Like, knowing how to sell yourself is much more important sometimes than what you've accomplished, because it's like, do I feel like, and also I think the thing I deal with the most is, like, as someone with a history of depression and anxiety, which is not the best combination for an Aries, I deal with feeling a lot of self-doubt about what I've done. Like, I think about my life, and people are like, well, at 23, J.K. like, no one cares. No one cares if at 23 J.K. Rowling was broke when they're 23 and broke. Like, that's great, and I love J.K. Rowling. I would love, but I'm not J.K. Rowling. Like, that's not gonna be my path. Like, I'm not her. I'm not gonna become her all of a sudden. I am who I am, and I can only hope to find my niche eventually. And telling people that it gets better when they're going through shit right now may be an encouraging message for the future, but right now shit sucks. And I know, and I think that admitting that it sucks is important. I think it's important to admit that education does not guarantee you shit. I was told my entire life, if you work hard, study hard, you can do whatever you want. It's not true. It's not true. It it's just not true. And we tell people that, and it's not true. Unless you have money and you have connections and you know people, then you can't do it whatever you want. If you want to work in retail back and forth throughout, yeah, you can, but it's hard. Retail is not easy. It's not easy to get up and deal with people day by day, and people treat you when you work in retail like shit, regardless. And I think that's something that people need to learn to shut the fuck up and stop doing. Like, I don't understand people who don't say please and thank you to people who serve them food. Are you, like, your food, your drinks, things that you eat and consume, you want to be rude to those people? And people who look at you like you're shit, like I've seen people look at me like, know why you're here. Like, no, you fucking don't know why I'm here. I'm here because I want to pay my own bills and not live under my mother's tit. That's why I'm here. Not because I'm, you know, people will look at you. And even if I were like some single mother trying to make ends meet, who the fuck are you to look at me like that? Okay, I'm doing what I gotta do to try to make some money in this world. And I'm not saying education is bad. It's not. You know, it's an amazing thing. Like I said, I would not replace my college experience for the world. Would I replace my outside knowledge? Yes. Because I thought that going to school and working hard and doing all these things was going to make it easier for me to get a job in the future, and it didn't. And I think that's the end thing that I wanted to get out of this. Going to school, doing well in school does not guarantee you a fucking thing. Unless you're going to an Ivy League school, and even then it's hard. So, and unless you're in like a certain field where people like teaching or medicine, which I told, like I said, not interested in being another West Indian in medicine. I'm just not. I love that my mom's a nurse, don't want to do it. Following your path and following your dreams is fucking hard, and it's not easy. And while some people can make it by being funny and gifable, and I respect those people because it's work. I know, because I do this, and this is work for me, and that's why, you know, it's hard for me to do sometimes. I'm trying to do it more now because it's actually helping me stay sane by talking to people and interacting with you guys and hearing your comments and concerns. But I just want to say that, like, if you're struggling right now and you feel like I work really hard and life is still shitty and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing at this age, I feel you. It's shitty and it hurts, and you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and you feel like a fucking failure and a loser, and you're not alone. And that doesn't help you either, because you don't want to be part of a hive breed of sucking fucking fuck people. Like, it sucks. And what's keeping me going right now is the fact that I'm 23 and I can legally drink, and it's great. And that I'm gonna have a PlayStation 4 soon, and I can play S Super Jump or whatever the fuck it's called, that Shonen Jump video game, and then I can play Batman soon. That's what's keeping me going. Superman exists in my mind, makes me happy. Like, things make me happy now. That's what keeps me going. To have a real moment here, I think the hardest thing for me is realizing that my life might eventually become inconsequential. It's vain and egotistic and very rigid of me to say this, but I've always wanted to be somebody. And as I get older, I'm wondering more what that's gonna mean. If I'm actually gonna be somebody, or if I'm just gonna be me. And if me and me somebody can be the same person or not. And realizing that you may not be special or interesting or unique is probably the worst and hardest part about growing up and getting older. And at the same time, what can you really do about it? It's not very optimistic. Alright, I'm running out of time. I'm trying to make sure everything's under 20 minutes. Yeah, life sucks sometimes. But talking about it with people makes it better, just because you can all just be like, fuck the world, I have student loans. So, yeah, let me know, how does your life suck today?